Today is such a fun episode. I'm so excited to have Emily Blair here from Emily Blair Media. Emily's an incredible story. She owns a PR company. She got started at a young age in the industry, and we're going to get to talk to you and learn all about how you started, how you transitioned, and how, so young in life, where I feel a lot of people don't know what they want and they don't know what to be focused on. You knew what your passion was and you went after it. And I love that. So why don't you give us a little bit background about your start?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Um, Gosh, where do I begin? I feel like nothing about my story is traditional. I didn't have like a traditional high school experience, college experience, like nothing. And I think that's why I kind of landed where I did. Do you want the Cliff Notes
What
version or like the full thing?
the full thing. So why wasn't high school traditional?
I, was never into, going to parties and, having red cups, whatever. Like, my idea of fun in high school was, literally going to the Chateau Marmont and having a $10 dessert, but just, dressing up and, being where, older people not older people, people in their 20s were,
Yeah.
having fun, adults. Like, I just wanted to be, an adult so badly. Like, I was not interested in, vaping at a house party in Thousand Oaks. That was just, not my
Not
vibe.
your thing.
It was not my thing, never was, hard as I tried. And so that's literally how, I fell into this world so young is I remember really vividly, my friend Emma, we were at the Chateau Marmont, I don't know what business we had there, how we got in, whatever. And we're literally eating this dessert that's probably 9 or $10, at the bar. And I saw a bunch of flashing lights as we were leaving, and I realized it was Cameron Diaz. And I tweeted, "Oh my God, just saw Cameron Diaz," back in the days when Twitter was a safe space.
So how old are you
Um,
at this point?
oh my God,
Like
how old am I?
16?
Yeah, I couldn't have been more than 16 or 17. I was about to be a senior in high school.
Okay.
And and a reporter at Us Weekly found my tweet.
Uh,
And because when you search in Twitter, saw Justin Bieber or walked by Justin Bieber or something like that, all these things pop up. I learned this when I was a reporter about star sightings. And that's how you can see if a celebrity is on a date or if a celebrity is in this airport. That's kind of how they rely on people on Twitter to tell them. It's kind of like how Twitter broke the story of that plane that landed in the Hudson. There was no
okay.
media outlet that took that picture. The first picture of the plane that solely landed on the Hudson River was from Twitter. So
Okay.
Twitter was the
That's their
thing.
alert. Okay.
Yeah. And so she found my tweet. She was already working on a story about Cameron Diaz, just as fate would have it. And she asked me for details about seeing her. I gave this girl a effing thesis paper, every detail down to what Cameron Diaz smelled like, what she said, what she was doing, what she was wearing, everything. So it turned out it was her bachelorette party or something, she was about to get married. And so every single freaking detail you can imagine. And then at the end, I was like, by the way, if you ever need anything at all, literally you need help tying your shoe, I don't care. I am your girl. And she really took that to heart and she let me basically intern for her off the record, unofficially, throughout my senior year and throughout my first year of college. And in college, I literally had an iPad glued to my body like it was my firstborn child. I would be at a frat party and Marissa, that's her name, would text me "Hey, I'm at the Emmys. Can you transcribe this?" I would go in the frat bathroom and transcribe on my iPad. The answer was always yes. And I
I
did
love
that
that.
for it was
The
crazy. I mean,
answer is always yes.
I tell people, the answers are yeah, make it work. You
Yeah.
never know when your foot in the door moment is gonna come. Working for Us Weekly isn't really a job that you can, apply for on Indeed. You will never see on Indeed or LinkedIn, e-news. You just won't. You literally won't. It's a business that, you have to know people and you have to, just be in the circle, and, I just landed there by fate, and, I did that really unofficially for her for free for a year and a half. And then eventually I transferred to a college closer to the office that Us Weekly had in Wilshire Boulevard. And I was like, "Hey, I'm in your town. Can I officially work for Us Weekly?" And I remember when I got the internship because she's like, "Yeah, the editorial assistant will she'll interview you to set up she'll email you to set up an interview." I'm like, "Okay, great." So I knew I got it when the interview was literally like, "What's your favorite TV show?" like, what's your favorite, like, article that we had this month? It was, like, nothing about, like, my credits, like, they already it was, like, already in the bag. Like, I could just tell I,
Yeah,
like my resume was, like, put at the top of this girl's desk, and she had to, like, interview me to, like, say that they did. And
protocol.
so, got the interview, surprise, got the job, and I, like, was there for 4 years, um, and it was a roller coaster for sure. I was
Okay, wait,
literally yeah, yeah,
go ahead.
so
You were literally what?
when I was an intern there, I, like, officially got an internship when I was a sophomore in college, and I was there until, um, just after I graduated. Yeah,
Okay, so
full
that
time.
was my question. Did you stay in school? Did you
Oh,
finish?
yeah. Hannah Montana walked so I could run.
That's awesome. So what did you study?
I studied okay, so I did my freshman year at UC Davis, and,
Okay. Oh,
um
you weren't close at all.
oh, I yeah, no. Dad made me go to UC Davis because it had a UC in front of it, and I swear to God, like, I was committed to Cal Poly SLO for journalism, so excited, over the moon. He's like, "You're not going to SLO." Like, I got off the wait list at Davis, and he's like, "You're going straight to Cowtown, Sacramento, like, you have no choice in the matter." And I went along with it, and I was miserable, and, like, I literally applied to transfer to Chapman and didn't tell anyone in my family. I, like, called up my, the guy who helped me with my essays in high school. I was like, "Hey, Robert, like, need your help, like, just I'll Venmo you, it's fine." And I just, like, did it on my own, and then I remember I came home for, like, I think it was a Jewish holiday in the spring, and I was like, "Hey, so I applied to Chapman, got in, can we talk about it?" And I, like, convinced my mom to, like, let me transfer there, because I was so miserable at Davis. Like, Davis is I don't know if you've been there or, like, know anyone there, so, like
I went to Chico State.
you did? Okay, well, then maybe you get it, because like, I literally
Yeah.
tell people, like, Davis is a town that you, like, drive through on the way to Lake Tahoe to, like, go to the bathroom, and you're like, "Oh, this is cute," like, for other people. Like, it feels like Gilmore Girls, like, but it's, like, for other people, you know? I lived there for 9 months, and I
Okay,
was just like
so one thing about you is I like you don't question things. Like you have an intuitive feeling and that's it and you follow it. Right? Like if
love
you
that
were trying to
too.
be someone you weren't in high school, you would never have been at that bar eating that dessert, seeing
Yeah,
Cameron Diaz. It was
that's
because
what I tell
you allowed
people.
yourself to be who you are. And that takes some people so long,
Yeah.
right?
No,
Because
it's so that's such a good point. Yeah, I never really thought
I
about
was never in high school being I was trying to fit in 100%.
I mean, me too. I wanted to be cool so badly. Like when I got to Davis, like the only thing I wanted to do was be an Alpha Phi, like my mom. That was my only goal in life was to be in a sorority. Like I would have like given you my left toe if it meant that I would automatically get in a sorority. And I had the most awful rush experience ever. I ended up dropping out like in the middle. I ended up joining a sorority later on. Didn't really like it. It wasn't all that it was made to be, but freshman year, it's all I wanted, and I think about that now, I'm like, if I had gotten into, like, a great sorority, loved it, I would never have transferred. I would never have gotten the position at Us Weekly, like, more full time. I would have stayed there, I would have finished at Davis, and who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah. Sometimes rejection really is protection or redirection.
Love that, yeah.
So it's hard. Rejection to me, I think is one of the most painful things to experience, but to trust it and allow it to redirect you, you usually end up somewhere way better, and then you look back and you're like, "I get it.
And it
It's
makes you
worth
tougher. It's like,
it."
there's
Mhm.
nothing that I can't survive, like, even as like, I think, like, sorority rush when you're 18 is literally, like, the biggest deal in the history of America, and, like, it just stages of life, like, what you go through and, like, how
Yeah,
you get through it
yeah,
change, but,
for
um,
sure.
it just makes you more resilient.
Yeah, I think if you allow it to, right? Like, if
Yeah,
you allowed yourself to feel it, honor it, and keep going, which I
100%.
think, shows a really strong person. I think that's awesome. So now take us you're at Us Weekly, so why was it a roller coaster? And what kind of were your duties? Like, what did you do? Because you 4 years, you stayed there a long time.
Yeah, I was, it was crazy. I was so when I was an intern for, like, maybe 3 to 6 months, and then I stayed on freelance, and then Us Weekly got purchased by another publishing house. They fired everybody except for the editorial assistant, who I'm so close with. And I just kept freelancing. And then eventually they were rehiring out in LA. And then I was part time and then full time. And so it was really
You were
just,
writing? You
I
were
was
writing
writing and reporting. So during the day, I was literally writing 8 stories a day. Like I was robotic. Like I could write a 250-word story about Hailey Bieber in 10 minutes if you wanted me to. And, then at night, which is the most fun part ever, I was doing events coverage. And, like, the first time I was, like, my literally my second day of the internship, they're like, "Hey, this is us, new show, it's premiering. Vanity Fair is having a premiere party. Can you go cover it, do the red carpet interviews?" I'm like, "Sure. Like, how do I do that?" And they're like, "Oh, just, like, ask them questions about the show, their love, like, whatever." I'm like, "Their love, like, how do I interview people? Like, I don't know how to do that." And they're like, "Yeah, just, like, figure it out." I was, like, thrown in, like, I literally brought, like, a pamphlet that looks like a manuscript of my first novel to this red carpet with, like, Mandy Moore, like, 14,000 questions because Us Weekly has, like, an ideal interview list. Like, if you get someone for, like, 25 minutes, like, here's what you should ask them. Ideally, on, like, a red carpet, you get someone for maybe 37 seconds if you're lucky, and, like, I just had no idea what to do, and so, like, the reporter circle on the red carpet, it's like you're really, really close to other reporters. It's like Us
Uh,
Weekly, People, E! News, Entertainment Tonight, like, we're all like a lineup, and, I would just watch other people do it. Like, I got to this event and I'm like, "The fuck do I do?" And, like, I saw
you
people being like,
fake
Mandy
it
Moore,
till
like,
you make it.
fake it till you make it. Like, my first interview was probably absolute shit. Like, I was probably asking them, like, "Are you excited to be here tonight?" And, like, stupid things that, like, no reader would ever learn, and, like, years later, I became a very skilled interviewer, and I'm like like, my secret sauce was, like, word manipulation. Like, I can get you to tell me anything, and then you'd be like, "Wait, what?" And then it would be, like, a headline, or it would be, like, I would break a story accidentally, but, like, I'm never asking you, "Are you excited to be here tonight?" if I have, like, 20 seconds with you. But it took me a while. Like, my first red carpet was, like, a Vanity Fair party when This Is Us was premiering. Like, what? Like, why would you send, like, an 18-year-old there? But they did.
That's awesome. So how did you learn how to become an interviewer? Is it by being on the job? Are you watching other people? Exposure, trial and error? Is
Yeah.
there a way to actually study that craft?
It's like a little bit of everything. I'm sure you can. I'm sure there's like I know a lot of reporter friends of mine now like have like master classes and stuff, but that wasn't like cool back then. And so I would just listen to like the girls in the office do it. Like Carly, who was the editorial assistant and then she kept climbing through the ranks. She's now in Entertainment Tonight. She was incredible at it. Like you just became like I would hear her talk to these celebrities and like they'd become her best friend. Like they were so comfortable with her that they would accidentally spill such salacious details about their sex lives. They would tell her all about their kids. Like, they would just give her such fun bits because they really liked her. And
Uh-huh.
so, I think just that likability and, like, that relatability and making someone feel comfortable and, like, easing into it, but it's different. Sometimes you literally have 20 seconds and, like, there's Emma Stone, like, what are you gonna ask her? And then other times they're like, "Hey, we're gonna give you so and so from The Bachelor, you have 15 minutes, so you can plan a little bit better." And so, I've done every event you can imagine. I've done red carpet premieres, I've done the Oscars, I've done, like, everything, and so it just, like, every situation is really different. I've done house calls, like, I've gone to people's houses and, like, talk to their kids and, like, profiled them, like, craziest stuff, and, like, it just you play it different every time.
I'm sure we could have a whole episode on just like tell me stories
Oh
about
my god. I had
all
a
the
podcast about it. I, like during COVID, I was like my best friend at the time, we, created a podcast about, like, the behind the scenes of, like, red carpet life. It didn't last very long. We, like, maybe released, like, 15 episodes, and then she took it over, but it was like we were just like, these stories are absolutely sociopathic, and, like, no one understands. Like, you pick up an article, you read it for 30 seconds, and it's over, and that's your life, and, like, that
uh,
was, like our life was to create that content, and it was like it's a whole other world. Barstool is, like, maybe gonna pick it up, like, we were having, like, all these conversations, and, like, that's when my business was taking off, so I just really kinda invest in it, but, like, the early episodes are funny because it's just, like, people don't know, like, you just idolize these people you see on television, and when you strip them down, it's, like, insane.
okay, I love that. I have like a million questions I can ask you about that, but let me ask you this. So you're young, you're thrown to the red carpet. We already
Yeah.
talked about faking it till you make it
I
because
had literally a fake ID, like, publicists knew that I was young, like, some of them, they're like, "Go around the back," like, because I couldn't get into some of these clubs that these events were at, I'm like, "Hey," like, no one freaking knew.
I
So,
love that. I mean, did you struggle with imposter syndrome? Have you ever
oh,
struggled with imposter syndrome?
I have a master's degree in imposter syndrome.
I love it.
Like, I wake up every day and I'm like because the line ends with me, like, especially with what I do now, if girls on my team are like, "Hey, what do we do if this happens?" I'm like, "Fucking hell," like Like, my gut feeling is the last of the line. So, yeah, I have crazy imposter syndrome for sure.
So, okay, so you were at Us Weekly for 4 years. Let's talk about what you're doing now then.
Yeah.
What was that transition? How did you decide to leave?
Yeah. So, around well, long story short, I got crazy burnout. When I was a senior in college, I mean, they were working me like a dog. Like I started not to love it and I started to like resent waking up every day and doing it. Like I remember really vividly the day that broke me. I was basically the night before I was covering an event for The Bachelor, which is always like great because I get so much material, but it's also like 4 hours of interviews that I have to like go through and transcribe. And so the next morning they wanted me to do like an interview for this other girl from The Bachelor who just moved into this gorgeous beach house in Laguna with her boyfriend and do like a whole thing, a whole photo shoot, like interview her family, whatever. And then I had to write all day and then cover another event that night. So basically, I was like trying to time back my day. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to this event in El Segundo for The Bachelor. I'm going to drive to my cousin's house in Orange County, sleep there, transcribe everything, try to go to bed by 2 a.m., wake up at 5, get ready, go to this girl's house, drive to a coffee shop, write for 8 hours, drive home, go to another event, and then try to make my mom's birthday dinner. It was like not a real day. And I was just like, this is actually crazy. Like, they're so short staffed that like they're making me like do everything. Like most people who are writers aren't reporters and I was being split between both teams and it was just like I started not to love it anymore. And I realized like I'm about to graduate, like what happens next? And so I realized I liked being freelance a lot more because I had like the flexibility. Like when I was freelance for like a few months, I could pick and choose my events. I was paid
Mhm.
well. And I was like, okay, well, what happens next? Like maybe I go to grad school. I don't know. I'm like about to graduate. I'm like 22 or
Oh,
20,
so young.
so
So
young. And I was like, this can't be it. I was like, I'm on the red carpet next to people who are like 40. Like, I don't know if that's for me. And so I gave them a 4 weeks notice. I was like, I didn't wanna, like, scramble. I was like, "If you need, someone else, like, I will be here until you find, like, what happens next for
that's
you."
a big company too. You really wanna leave on good terms.
100%, especially because I knew I was gonna do PR and, like, everybody I work with, which we'll get to, is, like, people I used to work for. Like, it's crazy. These worlds are so you can't burn any bridges. And I was like, "I will be here as long as you need me. I'm just letting you know that, like, it's not really for me anymore." And I already knew, like, one of my friends who was freelance was really, really vying for a full-time job. So I knew that, like, I kinda had a feeling what was gonna happen, but, I let them know. And then my major at Chapman was strategic and corporate communication, which basically translates to crisis management. And so
Okay.
at the time, I was like, I think I wanna do, like, really big, like, corporate crisis management PR, and my plan was to, quit Us Weekly and take a year and study for, like, what's it called? The GRE that you need
Uh-huh.
for, like, your master's degree and, like, try to get my master's in PR at USC. And so then the pandemic happened, which kind of switched everything around. But when I tell people the story of like why I like doing PR, and like I tell this to my staff like all the time. I tell this to people when I close, like it's just hilarious. But like I'm sure if my team's listening to this right now, they know exactly what I'm gonna say. Um, what I think about all the time, and the reason why I was obsessed with risk and crisis management, like when I took those classes in college, was because do you remember that Malaysian Airlines plane that disappeared out of the sky?
Uh-huh.
They never found the plane, never found the black box, never found the bodies. It literally a giant plane disappeared. Like the show Manifest, and nobody questions it today. I literally probably think about that plane 3 times a day. Like, where the fuck did it go?
So why do you think that stands out to you so much? Why is
Because
that something that pulls on your heartstrings so much?
Because if you deconstruct it, there's a team of insanely skilled publicists and crisis management publicists specifically working at that corporate level who spun a narrative so digestible to the vast majority of the population that no one thinks about it other than like the people who lost family members. They find random plane parts on the coast of Madagascar like every year and a half. They don't know if it's that plane. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but like I want like why there was a documentary on Boeing on Netflix about maybe 4 or 5 months ago. They mentioned 3 other planes. They didn't mention the Malaysian Airlines plane. Like no one talks about it and it literally disappeared. And like the people behind it who like their goal was to literally be Olivia Pope and like make the problem go away, made the
Okay, so
problem
see,
go
I
away.
would never even think about that or realize that, but you're looking at it from like the PR standpoint and what they did and how they created that.
Yeah.
Fascinating because I never, like, my brain just doesn't go there.
People don't think of people like more normal people don't. Like it's not something that people should think about because that would like make us question so many things in our life that it's like that doesn't make sense. Like that's why whenever I see something go down, I'm like, who's behind it? Like what's happening here? Because that's not right.
So interesting. Okay, so that made you want to go into PR.
Yeah,
And
I
then,
wanted to do PR at that level, that kind of PR. Yeah.
okay, did you want to be the person that made the story go away?
Yeah, I wanted to be like the fixer. Like if you've have you seen the show Scandal?
No.
Oh my God, you have to
I've
watch it.
seen a lot of shows though. I have not watched that
It
one.
is so good. Olivia Pope is like who I wanted to be. Like she is um a DC fixer basically. Like she's a lawyer, but she's the person that comes in and they're like, "Hey, like secretary of this state was just caught with a prostitute at the hotel. Like we like there's a reporter outside. Like what do we do?" And she makes it all go away. And like it's a Shonda Rhimes show, so it's very Grey's Anatomy-ish. Like
But
every love it. Like every episode is a problem, but overarching storylines. And I was like, that's just so interesting. And there's so many things like that that like happen. Um, and that the show goes on. And I just love the idea of that. And that's the kind of publicity that I originally thought I wanted to do.
okay, so then clearly that's not what you do.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that transition. Tell us how that happened.
Yeah. So after I quit Us Weekly, it was like February of 2020. And I was like, literally the last event I did was the Oscars. And then I went to Europe for a little bit, came home. Actually, no, I went to Europe. I was gonna stay in London for a while because the year before I did a course at Condé Nast, it's a college in London. And I did a little course there over the summer and I was obsessed with it. And I was like, I just want to stay in London for a while. And so I went to London and then like started hearing all these rumors about this sickness. And my mom's like, you need to come home right now. I'm like, I'm good. Like the worst that can happen is like I quarantine here for 30 days. Like, wow, stuck in London for 30 days, awful. And she's like, no, 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 like you need to get home. And so came home. And COVID hit. And it was like the perfect storm because I had literally just quit my job a month ago. And I was just sort of there and like didn't really know what to do and was bored. And so I started like talking to my friend who's this makeup artist and she's like, you should just do like freelance PR for like I'll just give you like my some of my clients who like need help with stuff. I'm like, okay. Like the only PR thing I did was like one internship in college that I absolutely hated. Like they taught me how to do like media lists and how to pitch and like the really basic things of PR, but like I never really took a PR class traditionally. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing.
You
But what I
on built a business in something that you did not study and had not been doing for the past 4 years.
never did a lick
I
of PR.
fucking love that so much because I think so much of learning and becoming good at something is just like learning as you do. You can't learn it and then do it. Okay,
100%.
keep going. I'm so excited for this story. Okay, so
It
you're at home, you're going to branch into something you've never really done. Spoiler alert, now you have this whole media company built on this, but okay, take us through it.
so but it is crazy when you like, who the hell would have trusted me? Like, if I was trying to, like, find a publicist and the credentials where you were never a publicist before and you've never taken a publicist class, like, would I hire you? Like,
Right, because
absolutely
I have to imagine that's not a market where there's only a few of you, right?
right.
Like,
It's so freaking competitive. And so I was like, okay, well, here's what I do know. I don't know much about traditional publicity, but I do know how to reverse engineer the process because I was a reporter. And when you write for a magazine like Us Weekly that drives 500 million UVMs a month, like you understand what drives press and what doesn't. Like I would literally sift through my inbox every morning and there were like maybe literally 400 emails by like 10 in the morning. I can get through them in 12 minutes. And if you look on Us Weekly's Instagram literally right now, you'll probably see Kim Kardashian in 3 different rows within the last 3 days. Like they write about the same people. And the problem was that like I would go through my inbox and there were so many stories that I personally thought were like really freaking great, but there was no way that I was ever going to convince my editor to cover them. And like these stories like were being about founders, podcasters, creators, like were being pitched to me in a way that was so archaic. And like these people were working with publicists who also represented Oscar winning talent, Grammy winning musicians. It was like they weren't working with somebody who understood their niche and like what publications they belonged in. And it was like so evident to me that like people were just mass pitching. Like they would send me a press release for someone I've never heard of. I'm like, the only reason you should send a press release is if you work for MAC Cosmetics and there's so many beauty outlets out there under the sun and you want to target all of them and you don't want to email like all of them individually. Send out a press blast because you're MAC Cosmetics. You don't need to explain what you are. Like we know what you are. Congratulations. Like I probably send 3 press releases a year, only if a client like wants it as like a footprint of their company, but press releases don't do shit. So I knew some things. I knew like trinkets of like what worked and what didn't work from being a reporter. And that kind of drove me to use that knowledge and to kind of just like yeah, like deconstruct it.
Okay, so you were at home and you decided like, I'm gonna make a company, and you named it.
I wish
You
it was that easy. It was not
okay,
that easy. It was not that
okay,
simple at
so
all.
what did you do?
I was literally I was living with my mom at the time. I graduated college. I was like going home. And I literally was like, okay, well, these 2 people trust me like with their stuff. Like, why don't I just start like so one of them, my first 2 clients, one of them was I don't know if you know the show Dirty John.
Oh,
It was like a yeah, like an anthology series on Netflix. Not an anthology. Yeah, I think it was. And
the one that's made after the podcast.
yes.
Yeah.
So the girl who stabbed her father or stepfather and killed him in self-defense, she was my first client. And
Did you
randomly
know her from Us Weekly?
no, I met her through my makeup artist friend, Kat,
Okay.
who's like people come in her chair and she's like, "Oh my God, you need to talk to Emily." So this
Okay.
girl, Tara, her name is Tara, hired me. It didn't end well because like you learn a lot. Like I didn't have contracts and didn't have like my email was like, how did I start I literally think I decided to name my business. So I was like, Emily Blair, like, oh, my initials are EBM, Emily Blair Marcus, like Emily Blair Media. Okay. Like Emily Blair Media at gmail.com. I didn't have
Okay.
a website. Like I was just like, what I did though was like I knew what worked and I was like, okay, like Tara, like the anniversary of like her stepdad's, self-defense killing, whatever, is like coming up in August. Like, okay, let me pitch people. Let me see at People who covers true crime. Tara should write like an essay for People and like do a whole thing about like years later where she is now. Pitched it. I was like, hey, like, loved your story about blah. I know it works. Like, I'm not like, see this press release about the anniversary of like, I was like, loved your story on so and so. This is what I resonated with. This is what I didn't. This is exactly why I'm reaching out to you. I have Tara Newell, da 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 da, blah 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 blah. And like it just worked. And I was starting to get like high level placements for people who have had zero press in their entire lives. And it just worked. And the next girl who was sent my way by Kat, this makeup artist, was named Sunshine. She is like a sound bath healer model, like doesn't really have many credentials other than that. Was getting her press. And then my first real client came from Sunshine because Sunshine was dating Sebastian Legree, who's the founder of Legree Fitness. I don't know if you're familiar with Legree Pilates. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my first like thing. And like I represented Sebastian during the pandemic where every reporter under the sun only wanted to write about how to stay fit at home, how to do wellness at home, how to work out at home. Da, 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 da,
Uh-huh.
da, da. And so when you have someone like Sebastian Legree available for interviews about that, he was everywhere. He was in the New York Times, Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, Forbes, Entrepreneur. And I'm like, oh my God, like I didn't have systems that allowed me to like really get nitpicky about the reporters I was using. I did everything manually. Like I was like searching like, okay, who covered like, who covers at home workouts already? Like who's the person to pitch at Shape? Like I was getting really creative. I was following everybody on Instagram because I had a check mark when I worked at Us Weekly. Like I was just like trying to think of what I would have wanted if I was a reporter and like I had a client and like how do you it's so freaking competitive. Like there's so many celebrity trainers. How do you make your celebrity trainer matter
Yeah.
the most? And so I also knew the game. I knew that like, okay, at Us Weekly, if you ever see an article that's like you need to buy this coaster. This coaster is the best coaster
Yeah.
ever. You're like, what the fuck am I reading an article about coasters? Here's
Yeah.
why. The person who represents the coaster brand may also have some really interesting information about Taylor Swift and could tell the reporter at Us Weekly, hey, I know for a fact through the grapevine or whatever, my friend who does A&R at Sony Music, that Taylor Swift is going to be releasing an album in October. It's going to be like about, this guy. One of the songs is gonna be called Midnights. Um, I just know that. Great. Us Weekly posts an article, Taylor Swift coming out with new music, source says blah, 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 blah. As a favor to that source, now there's a whole article about the coaster company this source owns. And it's like,
Okay,
I
I'm
knew
not
that
gonna be buying the shit they're telling me to buy anymore.
no, it's all a fucking ecosystem. And like, I knew that. So it's
You
like,
may or may not buy everything that goes viral on TikTok.
nope, you literally can't. And it's all like a game. It's literally like you just need to know how to play inside baseball. So like I knew that I was like, if I had a client that was like a little bit of a reach, I still had so many sources when I was a reporter that I could be like, I mean, my best because like I can't believe I'm saying this on a podcast. Two of my best friends are also best friends with Army Hammer. Like that's still something that I fucking think about sometimes. Like I like there's like a lot of like
Did you
connections that
do
I still
anything with that story?
oh, like if I hear things, like I have to be really careful because like I can't be like, hey, Army Hammer is gonna be at this restaurant at this time, like da 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 da, he's dating this person. But like if I hear things like how he's doing or how his kids are, or like if how the case is going, like I may call Carly sometimes, be like, oh my god, hey, da 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 da. And then all of a sudden, like
Who's his publicist? Because that sounds like an
oh,
intense.
they all dropped him. All dropped him.
So he's just like on his own.
Just on his own, floating through the abyss. Yeah.
I mean, sorry,
I know. I know.
right? Uh,
100%.
so for Sebastian, how did you get him to go with you? And then I think this is a really challenging thing for entrepreneurs. How did you know what to charge?
Oh my god, that's such a good question. So with Sebastian, it was literally all this girl Sunshine. Like she convinced him. She's like, I'm gonna get Sebastian to do it. Like she had like a lot of influence on him, for better or for worse. Like they're no longer together. I'm no longer working with either of them. But um, she literally just told him he was gonna do it, and he did it. And like, it just worked out really, really well. And that led me to like getting a lot of other clients. But at the beginning, I was like so unsure what to do. I was like, I think I'm gonna do it hourly. I think I'm gonna do like what did I say? Like 20 hours a month, $2,000 a month. And like, that's going to be that. And then with Sebastian, Sunshine was like, okay, like do 40 hours for Sebastian and like $4,000 a month. I'm like, okay, like, sure. Why the fuck not? Like, and then at that point, that's when I realized I wasn't going to go to USC because I was like, okay, I have Sunshine, I have
I'm
Tara, and I have
already
Sebastian.
doing it. I'm already doing it.
Exact. I was like, this is like what, like $6,000, $8,000 a month. Going in my pocket because I have no expenses living at home with my mom during the pandemic.
See,
Why would I pay
for
USC
reference, how old are you right now at this point?
23, 22
Okay.
or 23? Yeah.
Let's not even talk about what I was doing at that.
No, but like, but that's normal. Like, part of me wishes I had those experiences because I was just like,
I can see that, but you'll have it like later on. And you know what? Like the beauty in the story is you had intuitive feelings. And from what I'm hearing, like you followed them. You were so young and you knew to trust your gut. And I'm so into that. And I love that so much because
thank
that is a
you.
scary ass thing to do when it doesn't really make sense in your head, but it feels right in your
It's
in
still
your
scary. It's
body.
still so freaking scary. And like, people don't like, you
Does
have
it
to
ever
just know
stop being
yourself so
scary?
well.
I said, does it ever stop being scary?
No, I mean, oh my god, no. There's like a but the thing is, I know it's not the end of the world. It's like, and I think that's like my crisis management background. Like, I have girls who be like, "Oh my god, what do we do? Da, 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 da. Oh my god, I can't believe this happened." I'm like, it's literally gonna be fine. Like, it's gonna be fine. Like, I see it in like a lot of younger entrepreneurs too, and I say that, and I'm 25. Like, I'm a young entrepreneur, but like, for example, like I see so many people like working so hard and hustling and like so nervous and like worried about like the little things, and I'm like, it's gonna be fine. Like, let me tell you the first thing I learned. Money can fix 9 out of 10 problems in business. Like, if they're like the amount of things I've solved that literally feel like the end of the world, ice age level bad that I've paid a few $1,000s out of pocket for and it's over, tons. And it's like that's the cost of doing business. And it's like, so if my team, if there's a huge monumental chaotic problem that you're gonna lose sleep over, can we solve it with money? Do I take a loss and I have $1,500 less in my bank account this month? Great. I will say yes every time so I can put that
Okay.
to bed and like go on with my life.
Interesting. Do you think that's in all industries or just your industry?
I don't know. I mean, like, maybe it's difficult in other industries, but like for us, for example, like here's something that just happened like about a few months ago. We had a client. So we represent this swimwear brand. They're amazing. And one of their celebrity ambassadors, we had booked her for a Maxim cover. And during the shoot, she had shot with other swimwear brands also. And Maxim wanted to use all the swimwear brands, not just our client, in this shoot. And our client was like freaking out because they're like, okay, well, we're like, she's our ambassador. Like, why is she wearing other swim brands for this cover shoot? Like, this is confusing. Like, our bosses are gonna be so freaking upset. Like, it was really bad. And I was like, okay, well, we don't have enough other pictures from that shoot. What am I gonna do? And so I found photos from like a previous campaign that she had done with them with a different photographer. And I was like, okay, I need to do two things here. I need to convince the photographer that shot the Maxim cover to let me use photos that aren't his for this cover. And then I need to call the agent of that old photo shoot, like give me the usage rights to use those for the magazine too. And then I need to convince the editor in chief to let me do all of this. And I literally had like hours because they're about to close the magazine. So first I called the photographer that did the new photo shoot and I was like, hey, I've worked with him before. And actually he owed me a few favors because he has colossally messed up in the past. And I was like, hey, like I need like you to let me use two photographers on this shoot, share credit with someone else. I will give you I'll pay you for it because I know that I don't want you to feel taken advantage. And he's like, yeah, no problem. It's fine. Great. Next, called the other photographer that did a campaign with this girl years ago, but still using the same brand. I tried emailing his agent. She didn't answer. I found her number by like typing in her number on Cash App and then like her like name came up. I like did all these weird things to like find her number. Called her. I was like, hey, like I know you don't know me. And she literally had COVID at home. And she was like, what the fuck are you like, what is this about? And I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, we're just dealing with a situation where I literally have to turn this around like in an hour. Like, what would it take to get him to give me the usage right? She's like, oh, like $500 a photo. So basically, I had to pay $2,000 a photographer, the first one, 2,500 to the next one, and then convince the editor in chief to let me do all this. And it all worked out. And I literally just used like a budget from the retainer of our client, my retainers have significantly increased since the Legree days. And I'm just like, you know what? Okay. So this month we made less from them, but like, guess what? They're really, really happy with this Maxim cover. It's a great testament to like our scope of work that we can produce a Maxim cover. And the show goes on. And I'm gonna put my phone away now and like go on a date and like enjoy my night and not think twice about it. Like, I think I grew up in a family, like, where my mom and my grandparents were always just like, "Nothing is the end of the world." Like, if money can and I don't think money should fix all your problems, like, 100% not. Personal life stuff, like, do not try this at home. But, like, if you're an entrepreneur and, like, there's a problem and you have, like, enough income to make it go away with money and move on to the next, like,
Yeah.
do it. Do
Yeah.
it.
Well, and I think you have to spend money to make money too. And a lot of it isn't just about like the money you're bringing in, but the reputation that you're building, and that brings in future money, right?
100%.
Down the
100%.
line. So yeah, I think
100%.
a smart decision. So okay, so you're at what point did word start spreading about you and you started getting more and more clients? And then at some point you're deciding like, I can't do this all on my own. I'm gonna hire my first employee.
Yeah, something
And it
like
was
that.
still like in COVID.
It was all in COVID. I like that you said too, like spend money to make money because I was doing PR manually, like searching reporters now, and now I pay about 15 grand a year for a system called Muckrack that literally does all of that for you. And
Yes,
like
you can't spend your time on things that other people can do for you if you're gonna put your mental energy into growing your business
100%,
100%.
100%. And like have to spend money. I was telling my friend today who's like started a PR firm. So I'm all my best friends are publicists. Like I really believe in like collaboration over competition. And like I was telling her today, I'm like,
Oh my God, wait, hold on, stop. I love that so much. I
I
just
do
went
it
to an
all the time.
event a few weeks ago and I brought my clinical director with me to introduce her to people. And we went in and there were a lot of like bigger names in my industry in the room. And they were like, oh, who trained you in this area and who trained you in this area? And I was telling them, and they're like, oh, our program's better than their program. And then there was like just a lot of that going on. And I left that room and I looked at her and I was like, we will never talk about other people in our profession that way. Like our
I
profession's so divided and competitive
hate
because
that.
it's so small and niche. And I just thought like, never, like I
Never.
will never, like that is not what we're going to be about. Like I will, there's so many practice owners. I own a private practice and they're like, oh, I can't share that information with you. I'm not going to share. I'm like, oh my God,
Gatekeeping.
this is so
Gatekeeping will be the death of all of us. Like, if there's a publicist that's like, "Hey, do you have the editor at Cosmo? Like, I like really love the piece that you did with your client." I'm like, "Yeah, let me put you in an email chain with him." That's
I
literally
love
what I do. And like, because it doesn't take anything away from me. And I think that like when you put that energy out there that like you're not like threatened by anyone else, like the universe gives it back. Also,
I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's all about what we're energetically putting out. And that's something I still struggle with every single day. Like right now, there's some stuff going on in my business that is some scary shit that a couple years ago would really mentally fuck me up. And I am just like, I can't, like, I have to trust this process. I have to let it unfold. I
and it's gonna
maybe
be hard. Being an entrepreneur is really freaking hard.
it's
It's no
so hard.
cakewalk. It's an uphill battle, and there's no guide to be like, "Oh, what do I do if this happens?" Like, it's literally all about your gut. And like I've been really screwed over. Like my mentor,
Yeah.
like literally actually the reason I don't work with Sunshine and Sebastian anymore is because my mentor like poached them. Like like the guy who I literally like relied on like for advice and for I knew him since I was at Us Weekly, like one of my oldest, dearest friends, like convinced them to like leave me and go with him. And it was just like, and didn't even tell me. I literally found
So shitty.
it was awful. It was horrible.
But then you
Um,
don't want any of them in your life. I love that you said mentor because I feel like, and I've had mentors and I have one right now. I feel like every single person I've talked to so far on this podcast, like the running theme is everybody growing their career and looking to be an entrepreneur and build a big business. Everyone has a mentor.
oh, 100%.
Yeah. What I want, to be able to give people is like mentoring on that emotional and mental component because I feel like
So
anyone could be like, put your money here, hire this person, whatever. But like for me as an entrepreneur, and I don't know if it was the same for you because you sound very resilient, but like it was the emotional and the mental stuff that really like fucked me up along the way.
oh,
That was
100%.
way harder for me than the rest of it.
I agree. And like it's interesting like that because I feel like that's not a relatable thing for most people. Like for me, knock on wood, like everything worked out really freaking well. Like I started a business during the pandemic, psychotic. It grew 500% in 2021. It kept growing. And like for me, it's just like it was the mental and emotional turmoil for sure. Like and like that's why like well I have a therapist who's basically like a career coach and like I am obsessed with her, but also like I soak up information and feedback and advice like a sponge. Like I am the least prideful person in any room. Like if someone tells me something that I think will improve my life or my business, like please tell me. Like I've been on first dates before where guys literally tell me stuff and I'm like, just fucking tell me. Like I'll take the good and leave the rest. That's what my grandpa used to always say. Like if there's like something in there that like I think is valuable, thank fucking God you told me. Like cuz I never would have known. Like I've never done this before. I've never started 5 startups in Silicon Valley. Like I literally am like a girl from Woodland Hills who decided to do something during the pandemic and it worked out. Like tell me everything you possibly can. And so I think that like having that mindset is like really good too emotionally if
I
you're open to it.
I think you're so successful just from having this conversation with you, and we've never met. Like, your energy is amazing. You're following your intuitions. Like, I just don't feel like you're going to go wrong. Like, I don't feel like you can go wrong when you're intuitively like doing what inspires you and lights you up, and you're putting good back into the world. Do you know what I mean?
Thank you. Yeah, no, I hope I am. I mean, like sometimes I'm like sometimes the publicist thing in me is like I'm twisting situations or I know I'm the bad guy and it's like you have to kind of like wrestle with those demons sometimes too. But like if you're really just intentional about what you're doing and like you like at the end of the day, like I also have the mindset that like clients will come and go, but like my team is like they're like my children. Like, I wake up every day and I'm like, "How can I bring more money to the business to, like, pay them more?" Like, I want everybody to be making 6 figures, like, not even kidding. It's no fun if I'm the only one that's, like, having a good time. So, like, whenever I can pay them more, I do.
I love that. So, you said clients come and go. When a client goes, does that sting? Does that hurt? Like, does that feel like rejection for you? Or you're just like, it's fine. Like, that's kind of part of the business. How do you emotionally handle that?
Great question. I strive for longevity in, like, everything. Like, I want my team to be there long, like, I have, like, retention bonuses, like, every year you're here, you get automatically paid more. Like, I've implemented a lot of systems to, like, try to keep people as long as I can.
How do you
Um
know how to do that?
My uncle taught me. He's an entrepreneur. And like originally I was like, do I give them equity? But like that doesn't even like that's not even real until you like sell. Like, how do I get people to stay? And like also with a start, I call my business a startup. Like I literally like the amount of money in my bank account has significantly like changed since 2020. And it's like my assistant was with me when like my first assistant was with me when she was like barely making anything. She's my head of operations now. And like that's she's been with me for like over 2 years. And like I'm gonna keep paying her more and more money, like because she gets it. Like I don't have a thing where it's like, okay, like every year we'll do yearly reviews and like I'll see if like I want like if I have more money in the bank and like things are changing and your role is growing, you will be paid more. And like my team knows that. So but yeah, back to the like the if it stings, like 100%. Like I've had clients leave for various reasons. And like I remember when there was a day where I was like, I've never had a client leave. And like that changes. And like I have had clients leave because they're on TV shows that go on hiatus and they don't need a publicist for a few months. And it's like, okay, like that's X amount of money like stopped. Like that's why it's so hard to know like when to hire someone or when to like, so I have 3 to 6 month contracts. It's all a sliding scale. I've had clients leave on really bad terms, where literally like I can't collect from them. Like they just disappear.
Oh,
I'm literally dealing with that right now with a client who like I literally has told me so many times, like, I'm getting this done, I'm going to like, then just disappears. I've had clients leave because their expectations are too insane and like we really can't meet them. And I'm really transparent. Like I've had clients sign and the next day they're like, okay, like, do you think I can do an interview with Forbes? Like
ah, yeah, 1 second.
no one knows who you are. Like I like if your expectations are so insanely high that like I know that not only am I going to meet them, but no other publicist I work with is going to meet them, I'm not the person for you.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, I mean like I've had clients leave for various reasons. I've also like bent over backwards to save accounts that I really want. And like I have a great referral system. Like anyone who refers a client to me who's already a client gets 10% off their retainer the next month.
Okay.
So
So their retainers are monthly.
it's a 6 month contract. And so, yeah, back to your question also about like just what to charge people. Like it's also a sliding scale. Like I ask other firms
Do other firms tell you?
sometimes, or like basically like two of my mentors right now own an SEO agency. And we have shared clients and they like tell me like what they know because they have like 300 clients and like some of their clients are like huge celebrity owned like beauty brands. They're like, here's what X firm is charging them who works with them. And like, so I kind of hear through the grapevine and then you like experiment. Like you tell someone like, hey, it's going to be like $8,000 monthly for 6 months. And they're like, oh, like I thought it was gonna be more like six. You're like, okay, I can do six. No worries. Done. Like you kind of just like play the game and see what people will do at the beginning at least. But now I have a very set like this is our talent rate, this is our brands rate, and like I try to stay as close to that as I can. I fluctuate a little bit if I really really want an account. Like there's an account right now that I've been trying to sign since literally I started my company in 2020. They're like my dream client and like I'm trying to win them over and I literally told them like I will do like 3 months of PR for you for like whatever you want to pay me just to prove that I know exactly what I'm doing and then you can leave your other firm and come to me and like we'll talk. But like there's clients that I literally will be like you can wave hi to me and that's fine. So,
Yeah. I love it. I love that you're such a go-getter. You're just
you
like it's grit, right? It's energy. You don't stop. You can't stop, right? To build a business. It's just constant. What's your sign?
Cancer. I'm really cancery also. Like I really cry and get emotional. I'm like a Cancer Virgo. What's yours?
I'm an Aries, Gemini, Libra.
Oh, okay.
That Gemini emotion, that's me. Like I feel everything way too heavy, way too strong. My Aries is just like full-fledged ahead. I don't know how to like take a break or patient. What's that? Like, oh, I have an idea. I can't think. My best friend calls me a dog with a bone. Like it's all I can think about once I get an idea. I'm learning more and more about like what that Libra means. Well, actually, it's all about like I think there's a lot to do with like beauty and aesthetic. And when I graduated high school, I wanted to become a makeup artist. I just
Oh,
wanted
wow.
to. Desperately, I wanted to be in that field or like home design. Can't you tell? It is
Here
something
we
that I
go.
love doing.
Exhibit A.
And my mom was like, you can do all that if you go to college first, right? Familiar story. So I go to school, and because I'm an Aries, I'm like, well, I'm going to pick this and I'm going to get my bachelor's. I'm going to go straight into my master's. I got my master's when I was 25. I got married a month later and I went to work a month after that. And then I'm reading this article about being a rising Libra, and it says this person would flourish in a career of home aesthetic or makeup artist as a makeup artist. And I sent that to my mom and I was like, see, I knew what I wanted to do, but I wasn't smart like you, Emily. I didn't follow my intuition. I love what I do now and it worked out, but I did know. And I wanted to please my parents.
Well, I mean, I did too. It's really, really hard to follow your intuition when you have no money and like you're literally and you live under someone else's roof. Like I literally like convinced like I like so my dad isn't in my life, but I like after freshman year of college, literally. And so like I went home literally like the reason I even was allowed to transfer, like once I figured out I got in, I was like, this is so random. I found out I had this like third cousin who lived in Sacramento who had a private plane and they were going home for Passover, the Jewish holiday, and they're like, "Do you want to come with us?" I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I want to come with you." So I caught a free ride home. Went surprised my mom for Passover. My grandparents, bless their hearts, both of them are gone now, but they were like my safety net and like financially like would never want me to be unhappy. I had a dinner that I planned with them and my mom, and I was like, hey guys, like let's do a little like round table chat. I'm depressed as fuck at Davis. Can't stay there. There's a tour tomorrow morning at Chapman, mom. Like, please, like take me on this tour. And I convinced her. Like, she brought me there. Like, I ended up getting a scholarship, like through something, like wasn't still it's a crazy fucking expensive school, but like my grandparents helped. Like, I like had to like get on my hands and knees and beg because like I didn't like my gut was telling me I needed to be there, but like my pockets were like, oh, like you have maybe $400 in savings. Like, how the fuck are you gonna do this? So
Uh-huh. Well, I think a lot of people, because it's safer and it makes more sense, is when your pockets are saying you can't, we don't even try because we're like, well, we can't,
it's true.
right? It's
100%.
it's easier to just be like, well, this is what I want, but like this is my fucking situation. So this is the situation I'm gonna continue to live in because pushing past that, that's hard, right?
It's so hard. That's why I think it was really circumstantial for me is like I literally started a business in my bedroom when I had zero expenses. Like that's such a rare time. Like and I had like a few $1,000s saved up from Us Weekly, like whatever, but like I didn't have any expenses, like nothing. Like I literally was like making money and not spending it at all. And that was like such a rare time. Like most people who start businesses are like have to pay rent, have to buy groceries, have to live normal lives. And like I really didn't. And it was just like very, very, very lucky.
Is that is lucky. And I think it's great that you acknowledge that and it worked out well for you. But you were also like, at the age where a lot of people are doing that and you took advantage of the situation and you hustled and you built something. And I think that's incredible. And now you employ how many women?
11.
Awesome.
Yeah. All
Is it
women.
all women?
All women. Yep.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, should I like hire a guy? I'm like, I never do.
You know what? My business is all women too, except my husband. It joined me during the pandemic. So there's him, and then it's all women. And
How many people do you have?
I would hire a guy if the right person interviewed for a position. And I think that'd be a cool energy to bring in. But like I also love that it's women. I think
Yep.
that's awesome.
How many
Uh,
women do you have?
oh, I think right now we have like 16.
16. Oh my God, that's amazing.
It's great, but I it's great. We have a great team. I'm very fortunate right now, but it took a lot of, like you said, like getting burned. Like I definitely feel like there's been a lot of that over the years and um deciding to like keep going and not, there's a lot of times where I think it's easier to just be like, fuck it.
Oh my
This
God,
hurt
100%.
way too bad. It's not even about like the financial aspect. It's just about like the pain.
The emotions and like the when you're so emotionally invested in your own business, it's all consuming, like for better or for worse. But like you can't shut your brain off either.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I was telling my husband this morning because we have someone that's leaving the business. She's not going to be with us any longer after a couple of weeks. And I was like, I know we have a clinical director that does a lot and I've been able to have like that boundary removal, but I was like, it still hurts. Like I'm in high school and someone's telling me you're not good enough. And it's not about that, right? Like they just have a different life choice, whatever. They want to explore a different path, but it's still like, it's my business. So that's why I was asking you about rejection. Like I still like it's still
I've so been there. I know
like,
exactly the pain you're talking about. It's like a very unique feeling of being burned. Yeah.
yeah, and I don't even like I don't know if like someone leaving, like there's been like burns, but someone leaving, I don't know if I'm being burned, but I'm being rejected. I'm being told like your company is not what I want. And I'm always like, how do I make this better without sacrificing the business being able to like grow and thrive and just following that line? I think it's just like a really big head trip to be a business.
100%. And you work so hard and you know like what you do to create the best possible company culture ever, and it's still someone's like, "Yeah, fuck that." Like it's
Or
yeah.
like, that's not my love language. And then
You can't please everybody.
you can't please everybody. It's really, and I think every day I'm trying to be like not so emotionally attached to the outcome because the pain,
But
it's
you're
hard.
talking about cancer. Like I overthink everything. Like I overanalyze everything. I'm like, if I do this, this will happen, this will happen, that will happen, this will happen. And it's just like, well, fuck it. I have to do it. And it's like, yeah, you can't like you have to know like you're not gonna be for everyone. And I think I've learned that the hard I've done a lot of growing up over the last few years. Like
COVID kind of did that, don't you think? Like, I feel like that's really where my journey of self reflection really, really started because I was like, this is not going to work. Like, I can't live like this.
100%.
Yeah. So it forces you to grow up. Emily, you are quite an inspiration. I was graduating college when I was your age. For
Most
you,
people are. I was very abnormal, very abnormal.
well, to be where you are now at 25, your career, I just know, is going to have so many like beautiful like growth patterns. What you're doing now, I highly doubt you'll be doing the exact same thing in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. I think you're going to be covering that airplane story for sure if that's what you want to be doing. I think you're going to just the sky's the limit. Like you know so much and you're just getting started.
Thank you. And like I've a lot more to learn. Like I literally like there's a lot more I want to do. I'm just excited. I'm just really grateful that I get to wake up every day and like I'm excited about what I do. And like I'm not working behind a cubicle at a job I hate, like getting ready to go home. And like I am like wildly obsessed with every day. And like that's like even as much as it stresses me out or as much as I'm like I don't know what's gonna happen or whatever, like I still love it. And like I think that that's like the biggest gift.
I love that. And I love your energy and I love your story. And I'm so grateful that you came to share it with me. I feel like I could definitely have a part two with you because I feel like we haven't even
Anytime.
skimmed the surface. And I feel like there's like so much more to talk about. So we'll probably end up doing a part two because,
Anytime. I'm always here and I'm so honored you like wanted me to come on.
yes, I love it. Thank you so much. And have a great rest of your day. Who knows what it will hold?
Who knows? I gotta turn my phone on now and get to going.
All right. All right. Thanks so much, Emily.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
You talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye.